I got to play Metroid Prime 4 Beyond on the Nintendo Switch 2. Does Samus control better with a mouse? Let's find out. Hi, I'm Steve Saylor, I'm blind, and if you're wondering how I can play video games and what I can see when I'm playing video games if I'm blind, take a look at the video here or link in the description down below. So once again, as I've been saying all this week, thank you so much to Nintendo Canada for inviting me out to the Nintendo Switch 2 experience here in Toronto. I got to try out a whole bunch of games, and if you haven't checked out the videos I've been putting out this week, I've talked about the hardware, I've talked about Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and also Dragon Drive. And today I'm talking about Metroid Prime 4. But if you want to be able to see more videos from me, especially from upcoming as we get closer to the Nintendo Switch 2 launch, please make sure to follow this channel and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. All right, let's talk Metroid Prime 4. This is probably like not the greatest experience I had at the Switch 2 experience, but then also one of the best at the same time. I'll get to the worst in a minute, but the best was because this was my most anticipated game that I wanted to play throughout the entire experience. Yeah, sure, Mario Kart looks great. Like Donkey Kong looks awesome. Dragon Drive potentially could be good or bad, depending on what kind of accessibility needs you have. But Metroid Prime was one that I was personally looking forward to, not only just because it's going to be a new Metroid game, but also that you get to try out the game, or you get to play the game in mouse mode, which is a brand new mode for the Nintendo Switch 2. So I was very curious to see how that would control. Now, the reason why I say it was probably not the best experience for me to play, and I have to say this because this is not Nintendo Canada's fault, this is not Nintendo's fault in how the event was set up, but for me, unfortunately, because the TV was a little bit further away than I would personally prefer, basically what I'm showing on screen, how far the TV is away from the camera, is comparable to basically how much I was able to see. So there was a lot of times where I did not know what the heck I was shooting at or where I was going half the time, and I couldn't read any text or any dialogue. So there were times that was like, even with some mechanics that I had, like the attendant that was there had to basically kind of explain what I needed to do because I couldn't see what was going on. And again, that's not Nintendo Canada's fault. They just didn't know how to be able to handle sort of folks with disabilities like myself. But that's something I could be able to give feedback on to them if later on and just say, hey, this would be kind of great to have like one or two stations that are not as far away TV-wise so that I could be able to play, or other people like me can be able to play. I have to give Nintendo Canada kudos because before I even sat down to play, I actually got to sit down. These stations were for standing only, but the cool thing was is they anticipated that potentially people might want to be able to sit down while playing these games, so they actually had standing desks that were able to be adjusted to any height. So when they brought over a chair for me, because that works easier for me to be able to use the mouse, they were able to lower the desk for me. So that's why you've seen the footage that my desk is lower than others beside me. So I will give Nintendo kudos for providing that accessibility for me. Unfortunately, it was just the TV that was giving me issues. Now, when it comes to the actual controls itself, I saw some chatter online about when people were playing this game at the experiences that it took a little bit for them to be able to get used to one hand being your mouse and the other hand just sort of controlling the other Joy-Con, just kind of like very relaxed. Honestly, that actually was the easiest kind of control scheme for me to be able to pick up and just play, like, and understand what's going on. I was basically, you can see in my in my playthrough, even though I'm not moving around my hands around as much, and you can't see basically the Joy-Con in my left hand, but basically I just got to rest my Joy-Con in my hand, and I barely had to move at all, and I just used my mouse to basically just to kind of aim, which was great. Like, honestly, it was a very pick up and play for me, and the mouse feels great. The frame rate was awesome, and also even the sensitivity of the mouse was actually at a decent speed for me. It was probably set a little bit of a higher sort of sensitivity than what probably would be normal or default within the game. I think that probably did that just for the demo purposes, but because also, once again, I wasn't able to take a look at the settings menu, I can't tell if you can be able to adjust that in the final version of the game. So I was able to basically basically kind of like with very minimal movement, move my mouse basically across the screen so I could actually be able to kind of do snap sort of aiming and shooting. Now, what also a type of control that I really did enjoy that has been a staple in the Prime series, or at least from when I played of Metroid Prime Remastered, is the ability to lock onto your enemies. This is not necessarily an aim assist or a magnetic sort of like auto hit kind of thing, or auto target. It kind of works as almost all of them. So if you hold down on the left trigger button, it will actually lock on to an enemy that's close to you, and all you have to do is just point and shoot, because you don't even have to move your camera, because it will automatically move Samus to be pointed directly towards that enemy, and you can still be able to move around, and you can still be able to kind of kind of strafe or dodge out of the way of any projectiles that are coming at you. But if you just hold down Z button and just kind of constantly hit them with your right trigger button, you can be able to pretty much hit and destroy any enemies. Now that works great for most enemies, and I got pretty much in a good rhythm when I was continuing on through the level. There is a part later on where you do actually have to properly aim, and a lot of auto target lock on doesn't work for you in certain situations, and I'll get to that in a minute. Now, when it comes to sort of the other parts of the game, there actually is spoken dialogue, but there is subtitles that I wasn't able to hear or see properly, but I could tell that it was there just because the speakers were on the TV, and I don't have any headphones to be able to listen to, so I couldn't tell what was really being said. But I did see that there was dialogue, or that there was dialogue on screen of subtitles, and I could hear that there was dialogue being spoken. Which I don't know if I don't know if it's a first for Metroid, but there definitely was. It was definitely like, oh, okay, there actually is spoken dialogue. It kind of made you feel like Samus is like kind of Master Chief in a sense, because that's how kind of a big of deal Samus is in this world. Then there are the other abilities that Samus has. You can be able to go into a ball, but then there's also things you can be able to scan that will allow you to be able to unlock security codes, to be able to unlock certain doors, and that's pretty much all standard fare for Metroid games. So if you are used to that in a previous Metroid Prime game, you're pretty much going to be right at home. But even for those who are brand new to the series, they do teach you basically how to be able to use these controls. So that is something that you can be able to take in and be able to go in pretty fresh without having to play any of the previous Metroid games. I think probably the only difference is there potentially could be story spoilers for previous games, but I couldn't really tell that in the 20 minutes that I was able to play. Then it got into boss mode. Now, boss mode, like there was a mini boss for this demo that they teach you how to be able to play. So you go up to a door that you have to hold down the left trigger in order to be able to unlock. If you pay attention, you will know that I've been using my left trigger to be able to lock on to enemies to shoot. Well, in this case, because I had to be able to lock onto a door, then these 4 lights would appear on the door that you had to manually aim and shoot. Now, it took me a little bit to be able to kind of figure that out, but once I did, I realized, oh, this is going to be the mechanic for the boss, and I may be in trouble. And it turns out I did. I was hitting the boss. I was hitting him with everything I could, but because in order for me to be able to lock on to weak points of the boss, I had to basically hold down left trigger to be able to open up these 4 targets or one of these targets on the enemy boss, which turns out to be a mote of light on them. I had to aim and shoot at that light, or that pinpoint of light, in order to be able to do damage to the boss. I was going through pretty much the first, my first time trying to go through the boss. You could tell that I was barely doing any damage because I did not know, or I couldn't see that my projectiles were just bouncing off, and I couldn't really see where my mouse pointer was or my reticle was, so that I could be able to aim where the light was. So I was just basically just blindly shooting the boss, hoping that I might get lucky and actually hit a weak point. And it turns out I didn't, because then I got grabbed by the boss. And there was also a quick time event where you had to basically hit a button. I couldn't tell what button that was, so I was just trying to hit every button, and I died, so I had to start that boss fight over again. When I kind of tried it again, I tried to be able to focus. That's when I was able to figure out, oh, I need to focus on the points of light on the a boss's body. So I tried to be able to aim whenever and fire whenever I would see that, but also trying to be able to get better while dodging and jumping over the projectiles that the boss was shooting at. I was starting to be able to do damage, and I was starting to do okay, but by the time that I was getting even close to potentially ending the boss, my demo time ended, and I had to get up from my station to move on to somewhere else. So that was kind of frustrating. I saw that a few folks were able to beat the boss relatively easily, but I unfortunately was not able to. So my overall kind of thoughts on Metroid Prime 4 is that I think that this game, I don't know if it's going to be able to win any awards for accessibility. There are some neat little accessible design choices that were made, especially with being able to lock on a target, and I think the mouse controls could really help out potentially those with motor disabilities, because if you set the sensitivity really high, you don't have to make as much movement, and as long as you're able to hit the buttons on the sides, you should be okay. And for the most I don't want to say for the most part that folks with motor disabilities can be able to play the Switch better than they can on other consoles, but I have heard stories from some of my motor disabled friends that they like the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con, so they're really looking forward to be able to trying out the Switch 2 to see if that even works even better, especially with even mouse controls. So mouse mode may not be the absolute best solution for motor disabled players, but it definitely is something for those who do play games with a mouse that actually might work better for you. As far as I can tell, I don't know whether or not there was going to be any alternate controls where you can play it without having to be able to use a mouse. Now, other accessibility, there obviously was, like I said, subtitles. I don't know whether or not that's going to be adjusted, or whether or not you could be able to have any other settings to be able to add in speaker titles or direction arrows or background opacity. I don't know. Again, I wasn't able to see the settings, but it is good that they were able to include that along with the spoken dialogue. That doesn't mean that all dialogue is going to be spoken. So for those who are blind and maybe looking forward to, all spoken dialogue or all dialogue is spoken, that's different than in a lot of other Nintendo games. I don't know, because this is a 20-minute demo, so I don't know if any future dialogue is going to be spoken dialogue or at least voiceovered. So we'll have to wait until the game comes out in order to be able to see that. But overall, I think this is going to be one of those first-person shooters for the Nintendo Switch that actually I think might be a standout game for the Switch 2, because I think with the addition of mouse controls, but then also being able to get up to 120 frames per second, that's what Nintendo's claiming. I think that this could actually be a fun game to be able to play, and actually might be even a little bit accessible by design. Whether there's any other additional options or features to be able to help disabled players, we'll have to wait and see until we get access to the full settings menu. But I do have some hope that this game might be playable by at least a few disabled players from different types of disabilities. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section down below. And once again, if you want to be able to see more videos from me, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. And also make sure to be able to check out the playlist of all the videos I've from my Nintendo Switch 2 experience in the description down below. Thanks again. Take care. Have a good one. And as always, I remain obedient to yours. Bye-bye.